Some people always say yes. Even when they shouldn't. Even when they're exhausted. Even when something inside them quietly breaks every time they do. And what's strange is, most of the time, nobody notices. From the outside, they look fine. Calm. Reliable. Kind. They're the people others describe as so nice or always there. The ones who answer messages quickly. The ones who never make a scene. The ones who don't complain. But if you slow down and really listen, there's a different story happening underneath. Because people who can't say no are often carrying far more than anyone realizes. Pause for a moment. Think about the last time you agreed to something you didn't actually want to do. Not because you were excited. Not because it mattered to you. But because saying no felt wrong. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Almost dangerous. That feeling didn't come from nowhere. People who struggle to say no are usually extremely sensitive to emotional shifts. They notice the silence after a request. The slight drop in someone's voice. The disappointment that hasn't even been spoken yet. They don't just hear words. They feel the atmosphere change. And for them, saying no doesn't feel neutral. It feels like causing damage. Like pushing someone away. Like being responsible for someone else's discomfort. So they step in and fix it. Before it grows. Before it becomes tension. They say yes. And often, this pattern didn't start in adulthood. For many, it began much earlier. Somewhere in childhood, they learned a quiet rule. Being easy meant being loved. Being helpful meant being noticed. Being agreeable meant being safe. Maybe love felt conditional. Maybe attention came only when they behaved. Maybe conflict led to silence, distance, or emotional withdrawal. So they adapted. They became good at reading the room. Good at adjusting themselves. Good at disappearing just enough to keep the peace. And over time, this belief settled deep inside. If I say no, I might lose something. Lose approval. Lose closeness. Lose connection. That belief doesn't disappear just because you grow older. It follows you into friendships. Into relationships. Into work. So when someone asks for something, your body reacts before your mind does. A tight chest. A rush of guilt. A sudden urge to explain yourself. Even when you know you don't want to do it. Your mouth says yes. Because guilt is louder than logic. People often assume fear is the main problem. But for people who can't say no, guilt is far more powerful. They imagine the disappointment on the other person's face. They imagine being judged. Misunderstood. Rejected. And they'd rather feel exhausted later than guilty right now. So they trade long-term peace for short-term relief. Again. And again. And again. Another quiet truth. Many people who can't say no are terrified of being seen as the bad one. They don't want to be labeled selfish, cold, difficult. So they soften everything. They over-apologize. They over-explain. They turn a simple boundary into a long emotional paragraph. I'm really sorry, I hope this is okay, I feel bad. I don't want you to think. Even their no tries to protect other people. And sometimes, they still change it into a yes. Because somewhere along the way, they confused kindness with self-erasure. They learned that being good meant enduring. That being loving meant sacrificing. That their needs were optional. So they give their time, their energy, their emotional space, until they feel empty. And here's something rarely said out loud. People who can't say no often hope, quietly, that someone will notice. They hope someone will say, "You've done enough. You don't have to prove anything. I see how much you carry." But most of the time, that moment never comes. Because when you're always available, people stop checking in. They assume you're fine. They assume you don't mind. They assume you'll speak up if something's wrong. But you don't. And slowly, being needed turns into being expected. For some people, saying yes also feels like control. Especially if their past was chaotic or unpredictable. Keeping everyone happy once felt like survival. Agreeing felt safer than resisting. Peace depended on compliance. So even now, saying no feels risky. Like pulling the wrong thread. But here's the turning point. The moment everything begins to shift. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you lose something anyway. Not all at once, but slowly. Your time, your energy, your sense of self. And resentment grows, quietly. Not always toward others. Often toward yourself. Why did I agree again? Why can't I stop? Why am I like this? And that's where change begins. Not with confrontation. Not with becoming harsh or distant. But with pauses. With learning that you don't have to answer immediately. That "let me think about it" is powerful. That silence is allowed. With understanding that no is a complete sentence. That boundaries don't need justification. That discomfort is not danger. At first, saying no feels wrong. Heavy. Almost painful. But over time, it feels honest. And the people who truly respect you will adjust. Some won't. And that hurts. But relationships that only survive on your self-sacrifice were never balanced to begin with. People who can't say no are often the most caring people in the room. But caring for others should not require disappearing yourself. Boundaries don't make you selfish. They make you real. And learning to say no is not about rejecting others. It's about choosing yourself without guilt. These are the secrets of people who can't say no. And if this felt personal, you're not broken. You're just learning how to stay.